everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're taking a look at round 3, match 2 between SEGA SAMMY LUX and CyberAgent Legit from D.LEAGUE 2023-2024 season. Now, for me, I've really tried to do more of my homework and understanding the criteria of what these judges are looking at, because part of me feels that they make a decision based off of after both matches take place, or both people go within a match and then they make their choice. I'm hoping that is not the case, but you know, maybe some of you guys who have been a part of D.LEAGUE longer than I may know more. Reddit cannot help me at all, and all I have are what they're actually judging on. I actually wrote them down here, so I have my little list, but even then, they don't even have an itemized reasoning as to what this means. So we're gonna kind of go off of assumption until told otherwise. But yeah, very excited about this. I do know SEGA Sammy, I don't believe, won theirs against Septini last round. The CyberAgent, I believe, did. Yeah, they did, 5-1. So this will be very, very interesting to see. And so far, I mean, CyberAgent had my favorite performance of round 1. They did pretty well in round 2, and so I feel like with both of them, they can bring something very interesting, dynamic, or something different to the table. And I'm very curious what this feedback will be for the judges and who the audience will vote for. So without further ado, let's take a watch. Oh, everybody's in red hair. Interesting. Nice. Woo! I love this moment right here. Ooh. Nice. Spacing issue on stage right though, but nothing too crazy. Okay, add-on was a little bit muddled there. Oh, also look, they don't really quite have a lot of symmetry in that last little section. This was really cool though. I like how they started and how they finished. Nice, cool. Really interesting start. Was not expecting goth or concept of angsty, emo, goth, eccentric to make our way to the D.LEAGUE stage, but here we are. I'm here for it. I mean, we saw hockey players last match. Here we are with a little bit of this. SEGA Sammy, they did a great job. They do a pretty good job of interpreting lyrics or wordplay. I mean, I really, really like this beginning. This beginning was super dope. They had a really great groove moment that the lighting really helped accentuate. That was super fun. I can't wait to talk about that. Here we go. I mean, for me, I'll kind of give like my in general over the criteria. Let me see, skill, creation, choreography, style, and perfection. So perfection for me would be deemed synchronicity. Style would be authenticity within the style that you chose to do. Choreography has to do with the construct of it, the formations, the dynamics, the levels, the spacing, the staging. Creation maybe has to do with creativity, potentially, like creative moments, things that we haven't quite seen or they're not done often. But it's this one, skill. It's the very first one that they judge. Skill and style. I guess style would be just presentation, like authenticity, and skill is competency within it or difficulty of the style presented, maybe, because that guys, this is tricky stuff. I'm used to descriptions for these, and alas, we do not have one. Anyway, we'll cover that once we get through CyberAgent. I'll go through a whole little list of who I think would take each item, because remember, they are doing like a little comparison. Maybe we'll do that too. Who knows? I'm not used to that, but here we go. From the top, I love this moment that's happening over in stage left. If you don't know, stage left, like stage right and stage left, those stem from if you are on stage facing the audience, your left side is stage left, your right side is stage right. Yeah, so that's what I have to tell myself sometimes. So stage left, we have one of our guys over here that's having a moment. Everyone is still. Then it travels up energy-wise up to the top. Now, do I feel like this could affect what the judges see because of how dim the lighting is? Potentially, but remember, we got the best seat in the house, but also because of how they set up these cameras, there's certain lighting that we may not be able to see as clearly as what you see live. Because live, remember, I think it was SEGA Sammy. They, I think one of the reasons why they lost was because of their, what's the word? It was because of their outfits. One of the judges said that their outfit was very distracting, or it was too bright and they couldn't see a lot of the movements clarified. And that can affect, I'm assuming, the skill score, right? So, but going from here, I love this moment where they travel it, having this moment with a partnership here, coming up on stage right, then having a bit of a triggering, puppeting, you know, controlling effect here, but it's also causing this situation to happen because of this. I'm a fan of that. That's really cool. And he opens it, boom, boom, boom. Very similar in dynamics, which is really nice to see. Then having her hit with the accent and then draping it over the head for his head to respond without touching. Those are just such beautiful moments of collaboration. Them dropping their head down. I love the investment of everybody with the same hair color. Good chance it was spray painted on. Not sure. Not spray paint, but like that hair color stuff, or they all dyed it. I don't know. Commitment, man. I love it. I love it. So I love this energy. They're melting the angst, the performance, the presence was really nice to see this. And I love that vibration as she drops it down. It helps carry the depth of the tone. Then we have others draping around the sides. He comes up, has his feature. They're all melting through in their own angsty way. I love it. Sliding down to create a better frame, and they're actually bleeding through to kind of create this collapsing moment. And I love that everybody's making a different choice. You know, somebody's going up, somebody's draping to the side. I love that. Then having somebody come up on the top. Really nice level justification. Really great to see here. Very fun to see this as well. I love the energy going in the middle. Then switching, whoom, with the frame up with just the bleed of the energy on one side to the other side. Having somebody in the center and then having the moment in the mid. Love that. Dropping it down, really nice interruption of movement. And it's captivating, a nice little surprise. And I love the little dip right there. It can come across sensual. And I know the song talks about ecstasy. So I wonder if that's what's helping us entertain that thought potentially. But this little dip right there matches well with the track or just the progression of the moves that they had to set up. Really nice to see this here. Boom, boom. I don't know, however, with the heads, that right there, I do feel like one of them, his tension when he hit it, wasn't quite as, he didn't start to finish with the accent the same in comparison to those around him. So I think my guy right here was a little bit off compared to my guy right here. That's what I mean. So if you go back to look, yeah, so it goes doom, doom. Everybody kind of went a little bit earlier than him, but I can tell musically what's going on a little bit more clearly from him. So I just find that interesting. Not a huge discrepancy, but I like that. I love with the 4, and they chose to bleed through the formation. Really fun. Now, you've heard me talk if you've watched any of my K-pop analysis, especially when I watch a group for the first time. I'm always going to talk about how many people are in the group. And when it's an even number, I'm always going to make a note. Your challenge is going to be symmetry maintained with a 1-point feature. For this case, they did a very, very nice job maintaining symmetry because they split their center. There's only one case in this situation of their set that it was very obvious that it looked like we were missing someone because their spacing was nice, crisp, and clean, but we were missing someone and the symmetry was off. And that can, sometimes that can lower your creativity, at least in your formation side, because you don't want that to ever be something that sticks out. You don't want people to look and be like, oh, it's an even number, it's not going to be symmetrical. And that's a universal principle that we've discovered, that I've discovered, you know, that for us, it is in our being that we find beauty and symmetry. We do, you know, and it's definitely an implicit thing for us, and it's more difficult to kind of articulate compared to other things for myself, but that's something that I'll uncover over time, especially the more even groups I encounter. In D.LEAGUE, every group is even, so it makes it a nice topic to talk about a lot. So, but they do a very nice job, nonetheless, besides that one case there. It's just really nice. Notice that. Boom, boom. Notice how they set up their formation. It does carry a level of symmetry on both sides with a split center. Bleeding it through. Love that energy dropping on the side, and then have everybody go down to the side. That came up. I love that hinge action that prompted another response. Boom, 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 boom. Really love that energy. Hitting it through. Boom and boom. Bringing it up. This part right here. God, it was gorgeous. This is amazing. It's this energy there. Notice that everyone needs to match this upper body with the body roll. Really nice. They all snap their head to the front. Same time. Looks great. Arm comes up. Some people chose to go back and look at their hand. That would just be a no to refine. You want to look front for that part. That's nice. We go here and back, but notice with one of our guys, he's looking directly at this group, but everybody else is at least taking their head and keeping it in line with the body. So that would be something for him to keep in mind. He wants to keep it in line with the torso. Then the energy of this, dropping it down to the side. Then we have that switch take place again. Really great way to transition to a new formation with new people as your feature. I love this energy down here, but notice my lighting's a little bit trickier for me to see what's going on. Doon, 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 dropping it back. Really nice to see. Really nice to see this finger wave. Notice how clear it is. He's articulating all the way through from the wrist, all the way to the tail end. Some people tend to stop about right here, putting an effort, but he's being very clear on showcasing the finger section of this wave. And he's also looking at it too, which really helps us as an audience see this. Now, can judges see that? Don't know, but we can, and I'm taking a note of it, and I like it. And I love the speed change of them being nice and slow. Notice the sway from side to side. I love that. Then he has his moment. He brings it around. They also accent with the legs. He bleeds down. They all pull from up, and then they drop down. They switch. Love the opposition of our feature facing everybody else. Really fun to see. I love that knee spin. Really nice. I remember seeing that. I've seen it a couple times, but one that I can think of at the top of my head was Weedham Boys and their Mega Crew from Street Man Fighter. I really liked how they chose to do it, but it's really nice to see this here. We do see the switch from Wolflow. We did see that a lot too. Maybe even Hook from Street Dance Girl Fighter. Don't really remember that as much, but love that going into the bridge, but now it turns into more like a matrix hinge. My overall note is just being mindful of the knees and where you're placing your weight and pressure. I think for me, if you want to think long term, you want to make sure you take care of your body. So wherever you place your weight, you want to make sure that those joints are protected. But I love this energy of the 6. This is a great usage of 8 people. You have 6 symmetry on both sides. You have 1 point feature up, and then you have another level represented down below. That looks like a hula hooping stick figure is what I just drew. So, but that's really nice. That was gorgeous. I love how we looked, and then allowing this hinge rotation to take place in the front. That was sick. Then having everybody look. What really works with this was that you had people, I mean, I would feel like he would need to come up just a little bit faster, having these little arches of people coming up. Because of how they set, it was symmetrical in the gaps, not in the gaps, but in the waving of it, right? So it was a little bit like that. It wasn't straight across. So for me, as they come up, I would have more forgiveness on if they maintain that shape as they came up. But right now, it does feel like one of our guys is not going up as quickly as I feel he would need to keep that justified in the dynamic. As we come up, I love this bleeding in that 7th person right there. I love it. They all go in. That hinge was just a little bit off from some of them, but I love that they're all going around. He's able to have his moment. The spacing was a little off right there in that transition, but I still liked it nonetheless. This was really cool. I love that branching out and away. New feature in the front. Great way to cover up the setup for that lift. That's important because sometimes you don't want people to be like, oh, we're waiting for a lift to happen. That was a very nice, really quick setup, so we didn't have time to even process that. And we had a nice moment in the front. The twist as well, whoever was in that lift, how he twisted to come up was similar to the feature in front. Really great way to connect the two things together. From here, I love this. The power of energy that they used from the arms was really nice. They branched it out back to the inside, waving. Do I feel like this could be a little bit more refined? Potentially, but because of the just the sheer rawness of what they're presenting or the concept that they're presenting, because I know concept matters. Here's the thing though, concept is not on the criteria list, so I don't know why we are caring about it as much as we are in justification. It's kind of my, in general. They need to replace one of them with that. You know, choreography, style, creativity maybe. They maybe put concept and creativity. I don't know. What I may do, just being very honest, before we finish this out, I'm not even gonna pick who the judges would select on this one, even though it could be easy, it could be difficult. I just want to see who takes what category. I think is what I need to see, because it'll be the first time I actually look through and I see, okay, this person, this crew took this category every time. Does that kind of make sense? So I think this may be a learning experience for me, but I'll still call audience, don't worry. Still don't know about that. And that's its own point in and of itself. And I've been pretty on top of it with the audience one, so I have more confidence there. But I like the angstiness of this, and because they showcase really, really great synchronicity, when they chose to have more of an angsty appeal in their dynamic, we as individuals could be more forgiving to that, because we've already seen they could make that crispy clean, but it looked like it was a choice not to. Does that make sense? So I do appreciate the fact that they did attempt that. I love the energy there. Boom. I do feel like this could be a little bit more refined. Notice some of us are kind of getting a little too far ahead. Or I do know it's multiple setups that are happening. And so you can tell with each individual grouping, that's really nice. We're hitting on the do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That could have potentially read a lot better, but I do like the choice that they chose to syncopate it, to go in the tsh. I really like that pull of energy. Super cool. So I appreciate that, and that energy, that recognizing the tone, bringing it through to create a thread moment out of that. And I love how that's causing an effect to take place in affiliation with other tuts in sequences that are happening behind. Really great level usage right here in this moment. That energy, that pause before we projected more movement moving forward. This was really nice to go with the roar, like rah, it matches the energy very well. Nice reverb. Do I feel like we could do a possibly different choice besides just a vibration to justify vibrato? Potentially. For me, it can just feel that we are too comfortable in how we interpret a particular part of the music. I can speak from personal experience. For me, when I hear vibrato, I think vibration. Because it's a vibration of your vocal cords, naturally there's a vibration technique that is perfect in justification, but because they're choosing the torso every single time, it's a little tricky for us to be able to enjoy it the same way as we did the first time. You want to make these as creative in either who does it potentially, or how they set up into it, or the angle in which they're choosing to present to it. It's little things like that that can really help enhance it when choosing to repeat a texture on a timbre. That's kind of my general note. From personal experience, I love the bleed in there. I love this right here. Ding, 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 ding. Feels like he's being electrocuted. Love that. And they bring it up. Notice they were hitting on the and they chose vibration of the hands versus the body. And I love that choice. Throwing it out right here. I love this boom, and they go doom, doom, doom. How they bring this out. Look at the spacing slightly off on stage right. So that would be my in general note given to that. But I really like the fullness that they're all presenting. It's really nice. I just love it. I love it when everybody commits, because it's just really enjoyable. You know what I mean? Like, it's just fun. Hitting it through. This right here, this would be my okay, because it does give the appearance that we need somebody right here, but if you do notice, they are making an attempt to split center, so I will give them that. I think they need to be on the same plane in order to make that very clear. It does feel like we're missing someone right here. So that's just my one indicator of even numbers work against you on a formation like this when you set it up this way. But I like the presence that they're choosing in that. Notice some of them are looking through the technique. Others are kind of keeping their head stagnant or fixed pointed, so that would be something to refine there. I like this, that boom, that the energy pull in, boom with the energy pull in. Now right here, they fixed it right back up. I think this peel out, or just this cannon that took place, I think could have been a little bit cleaner. Yeah, boom, do, do. I don't know if they were going on a boom, do, do, or boom, do, 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 do. Not quite sure. Hitting it through, love that, with the range on the head, with the arms is nice. That was nice, doom, 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 with the speed changes. Look, they're still moving. I love it. And then they go back, but notice not everybody. That would have been really nice if everybody went back the same way and then moved to their spot after that. Even though it's dim, we're still watching it. And then how they finish is how they started. I love that. I always love that. It's an Oreo cookie formation, and it just feels very, it's a beautiful ending in our brains. because we catch the familiarity of it, it's like, okay, we're nearing the end. And that, for me, that actually ties into Lifeful Alt Rhythm. I think that was something that kind of felt anticlimactic about their set from round 2, was that exact thing, is that they did something in the middle of their set that I kind of feel worked against them, because they did it similarly in the beginning, and so our brains were thinking, oh, it's over. But no, they kept going, and so it kind of felt like that finish was not satisfied, if that makes sense. Regardless of the amount of time you spend on stage, it doesn't really change anything. But that's just my general note. This was a really, really strong start. Very intrigued on CyberAgent. The concept here, because like I'm going to say it every time, concept matters in the competition, especially with some judges over others, and especially in this round, there's one judge that really cares about concept a lot. So I do have a feeling like whoever has the better concept is going to get her vote, is really what it comes down to. So maybe we'll even vote that just for funsies. But you and I both know that is not part of the criteria at this point in time based on the translations given. But I'm very intrigued on what CyberAgent's going to do. They can totally bring so many different concepts in play. So this is going to be good. So let's watch it. Maybe a little funky. They also went with the hair change. Oh, they got a prop, so that's going to matter. Ooh. That was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they got different colored hair. Wow. I would say they need to be more intentional about the formation. They like that with hair color, because that's going to be something that factors in as well. Wow. That was really, really, really enjoyable. That was really fun. Oh my god. That was really fun. If we're going off of who I think audience may pick CyberAgent legit. Yeah, if you think about it, typically, if both concepts are abstract, then you're going to go with the one that emotionally impacted you more as an audience member. Because remember, most audience members are going to be laymen, not adjudicators. Remember that. So, which is different. But whenever you have a neurotic versus a gregarious, a lot of times people are going to go for the gregarious type because they like feeling that dopamine release, that feel-good hormone. And that can definitely, this concept right here really helps with that. So my gut tells me audience pick CyberAgent. Also, when I go off of following, my gut also tells me CyberAgent may have a bigger following or a bigger fan base. That may also be a factor. But for me, going off of the emotional, this is my personal preference, I would pick CyberAgent legit. I loved both. Here's the thing. I'm going to love probably every single routine I ever see on this show ever. Love it. You know, but whenever you have matchups and stuff, there is going to be one that you're going to favor over another for some way, shape, or form. It's a subjective, the audience vote's going to be the most subjective thing, which is appropriate. Now, Here we go. From the tippy top of this. This beginning was so intriguing. Normally too, whenever you have props involved, people are going to say, okay, how are you going to use this prop? But what's interesting is because they didn't make the prop a thing, then there wasn't an expectation set in mind. We have to make the prop a thing, you know? They used the doorway, but they used the chair to help create abstract poses, which I really love. The performance and character of it is really nice too. I do appreciate the attentiveness to the hair color, so it really helped us know who we need to look for and what role each person has. I think there was only one formation that we could have refined placement in order for the hair colors to still be somewhat appealing. And for an entire 2.5 minute routine, there only being one place where that was an issue, is still very impressive. It is. He comes up, he's like, oh no, we're late. We're going to snooze it. And then just the energy. Ugh, they really took this lethargic groove and they ran with it. Now, when you think about the group of 4 that played the role of our individuals who are late for work or just not caring or lazy individuals, they give off that energy, which shows their performance and presence, and how they represented the style they did is very well done. Popping is really good for that, especially Scarecrow and puppeting. Perfect for showing a lethargic point of view in texture. But they, for here, because they showed that their dynamics are in check and they are exuding the same degree of commitment to the dynamic, the individuality choice that they make as individuals really helps carry them and makes it see like we're looking at individual people, which is something that a lot of people like to, they want it to be relatable to some degree, especially concepts like this. And I think they did a very good job of making that happen. They're down, they're hit, and then they reverse it. And they actually change it over. There's a speaker in line, so I couldn't see their placement on stability of the foot. That's my one note to the camera guy. I love this bleed of energy. They go up. It's like they're pulsing, like, okay, time to wake up. They reset. This right here, it's all of them. I would say my notice that one of them chose to go up versus down. But because each one is presenting a different facial expression, how they're interpreting their hand, it would need to be, these two need to make obviously different hand position changes. But one of them came up, so that's what actually helps that be very short-lived in a good way. They go, they take him, they go down, the commitment here. He goes, the hop, and they're just committed to it. They're like, whatever. And he just rolls. That's hilarious. And he has to roll in time so they can respond to the track the way they need to. So the timing on this was probably, I bet the workshop for this part was really fun. And they're like, what happens if I just will you? Is what I call it. It's like, will. And then he rolls off. And then going into a breaking set, I love it with the freeze. And they all have that freeze. And then they go. I love seeing that. They drop down. They come up. Here we go. Bleeding it through. Notice with the head, the commitment with the head here. And they bleed it around with the hinges. God, this is gorgeous. Also coming up, my one note is some of their heads are just slightly off. And here would be when we need to really make sure we see everybody on the same page, because how they set up from their start to their finish, everyone's making the same choice. So we're going to expect everybody to commit the exact same way, right? Their heads are all slightly a little bit different. It's a bit more forgiving because of how they showcase the very beginning. But I do feel like that could be a little bit more refined on that pool of the chest a little bit more. They set it up. They check their watches at a little bit different times. I think that would be, they need to check it around the same time and then individualize outside of it. So have the dynamic the same, then the timing the same too, but just allow everything else to kind of pull forth. So they go through, and they're all like, so they're like, oh, I'm so tired. And then they're putting on a facade, basically. Love it. They're all kind of doing their own thing. They all set up the same, but then they're hyping up the crowd their own way. Then we have our 4 new individuals. We do have a slight spacing thing that I would say needs to be refined right here. The gap between this person and then these guys are a little bit better. Here, also notice there's a significantly bigger gap between these 2 guys in comparison to the other 3. So that would be my, in general, no, it's either they need to expand this out or he needs to move in. My gut tells me if he moved in, then it would definitely feel a little bit more cohesive with those with green hair versus those with yellow hair. So this is a really, really interesting thing to do, though. I think their setup, one of them just took a little bit too long to finish up that move. But I love that the levels are being represented here so that we can all have our little moment. I know they're supposed to do the same thing, which you could definitely see, but notice he has a little bit, he's not really going for it as much in the hinges as we're seeing from our other 3. That's just a you're not gonna, it's really, really hard to have a lot of people really be on the same page. But that's what makes this league incredible, is that can be a big enough note for me personally that can determine who gets an item, right, within a judge's scope or score. But they're doing a very nice job on the pool, and then with the double down on that. I really very much enjoy it. They go here, they said, come on. I love that he invites the other group to come in and join in on the fun. Really nice, very clear to follow. And I do know that's a thing with concepts. You do want it to be very clear. I think both sets from both SEGA Sammy and from CyberAgent Legit, they were pretty easy to follow for the most part, but I feel like this one definitely has more of a storyline, and people are typically more drawn to that, especially if it feels relatable, you know, like the work life. So I feel like that's why they definitely got the audience vote for sure. And having the level switch here, and then they have a nice little groove that causes the switch to take place, and it feels very organic in the transition, and I love that. They come up with the tension through, boom, boom. Love it. Bringing it around, and one of them had a slight little trip there in the front. This right here, notice that we definitely have, it's nice and in order. Nice to see. This was super nice to see, but notice one of them is a little too far out, so he needs to be in line right here with the rest of his group because of my other group. But notice we still have that spacing issue right there, so that would be something to clean and clarify. That was so sick. Notice that, the woo into the wave with that really basic side glide, and then having the other group face front while they do that. Beautiful. Switching it through. It does feel like that's supposed to be a straight line, but they ended up fixing it, so it's probably a transition modification. Love that. I love the swing over. And I love that too. When they swing over, they drop down and they hit them, and they're like, oh, and they actually got hit. That was fun, gimmicky. And then they're all in the back. They're waiting to go home, is what it looks like. They're presenting out. This is really fun. Here's why this doesn't take away from the performance, because if you notice that percussion, that bass, is being represented by those that are framing them. Secondly, when you think about what SEGA Sammy did, they had a whole about 8 count and a half of doing one groove, right? And then they looked, and then they extended the hand. So when it comes to the amount of time with something simple but effective in performance, they both brought something. One was more neurotic, one was more gregarious or humorous in nature. And so I think that that's really fun to see this moment. This is freaking hilarious. That they're just existing. They had to commit to that for a very long time. Like, to look there and not be affected by the audience or not be affected by those around them is very impressive. Them getting to have their moment here, I do feel like one of them's a little bit too far in front from the other, but to each their own. But it makes sense why, because you notice that transition. So I think that's absolutely fine because they committed on both sides. Spacing looks great. They both get to have their moment. That was a beautiful high kick that he did with the switch up. I'd say how they set it up was very similar to my note I gave to Messengers from match 1, which is whenever you have two people together, you want to make sure that their essence or their style representation and the posture that they choose to explore together when they're doing the same choreography, regardless if it's communal, collaborative, or in unison, you want to make sure that they carry the same type of carriage, because it shows that you're being competent with each other in the two, because I know that they're good as individuals, but how well are they in partnerships? How well are they in groups? That's where synchronicity of posture comes into play, and they can really set up differences between a lot of your groups. What I'm noticing though is the judges don't really care as much about that as they care about essence and authenticity of the complexity of the choreography. They care about the style more. So I love this here when they're sitting down in the chair. They come out, they're like, whoa, whoa, what's happening? God, this was gorgeous. Yes, and how we hit that on the bass. We got to listen and appreciate. Here we go. Ready? I think he was a millisecond too slow, but it sounded like a sound tapping out, and it looked like he was reversing it right back into it. Beautiful musicality moment. Honestly, my favorite type of breaking or fusion is when I see breaking done to styles of music or musicality moments that aren't typical within the genre. Like for me, honestly, one of my favorite concept things I've ever seen came from Project Home. It was, I don't know the group's name. They're from Malaysia, though. It starts with the letter T. And they're doing stuff with Project Home nowadays as well. So you may have seen them if you do know that organization. But they did a whole short film, because Project Home did a whole film festival where they have cinematography and they have dancing collaborated. And then those films that get selected, they get to be shown at the festival. and this one got an honorable mention and it got an award, and it was, they danced to creeks, and they actually danced in a creek and they danced in a warehouse, empty warehouse, and it was a mix of just, I would say just isolations, your typical kind of popping texture techniques, but not really giving the style popping. They integrated that with breaking within Bon Iver Creeks. If you've never heard of it, it is all auto-tune. There's no extra sounds in it. There's no other instrumentation in it. It's just his voice on auto-tune and harmonies like Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap. Absolutely captivating, blew my mind. I love it. And that's definitely probably my favorite kind of genre of movement that I love to see. So I love seeing these little pockets of musicality that we get to see here, where it does feel like we're really being attentive to what's happening in the music, because it allows us to appreciate it with them. Because the worst thing, honestly, is somebody who is a huge admirer of music in general, but somebody who makes music a top priority in representing in choreography. The worst thing is when you go and you watch a dance performance and they are not matching the music at all, and it just feels very stagnant. It makes you want to cry. So, and I do see that a lot of times when I go to dance competitions in my field. You do see that a lot of times, especially with the younger kids. So it's painful, but all that, we get to enjoy D.LEAGUE. There's a reason why I wanted to make this my personal job on YouTube and Patreon, is D.LEAGUE, regardless if it ever pops off. I just love looking at it, talking about it, and discussing it with other admirers of the league. This is so fun. All that whole spiel to say, I love that moment a lot. That he did. This whole section right here, really nice, and it tailors in. I love the transition that everybody did to help with his feature. These are great examples of not letting the feature kind of do their own thing, and not allowing the rest of the group to still showcase captivation and performance. I love that. And I love this bleed down with a boom, 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 great cannon. Then having it join in with two people. Really nice. Now, this is what made that captivating, is they both hit it the same range and in the same way. That's an example of what I'm talking about that I wanted the other group to do 100% of the way. Really nice. Range is important. And then everybody goes down, comes up. The turnaround was a little bit off. Some of them didn't rotate quite at the same rate as others. Those pops, super nice. They always tend to have a popping section with our middle guy. I do know they do know him. I think he could be the director, or he could be the leader of the group. His section's always really nice, but they just have to be very mindful to not overuse setups or sequences within the percussion or the timbres of the track. Because the worst thing you want to happen is if we're like in round 7 and we see a sequence, regardless of the intention, even if the concept's different, if we see a sequence that is similar in how they choose to canon it, ripple it, dynamify it, that can be something that works against them on the creativity side. Or if I were adjudicating it, that would affect their creativity, because it's not showcasing any sense of innovation within the craft that they are choosing to justify on stage. So that is one of the only ways that I feel like is appropriate to go off of the past, is because even whenever we're looking here, we have to go off of information that we've learned in the past to help justify competency or lack thereof when we do regular adjudications. That is an objective way to do it. And it also helps you catch plagiarism too, because if you are referencing, okay, they did this exact same thing, or another group did this exact same thing, are you going to award a group who does it just as good as the other group, but they didn't create it themselves? That's kind of the question that's posed. And so in order to create it, make it fair, we have to go off of what we're exposed to in the past, and that's where, of course, limitations of judges come in. You know, if a judge isn't exposed to D.LEAGUE like myself, I'm not as exposed to D.LEAGUE as some of the other judges are, so they have a different perspective on some of these sets with these groups compared to myself, you know? But there's that fine line of, okay, I know a group's expectations or how they're supposed to come across. Am I going to let that be the determining factor on how I score them based on, do I think they met their own expectations? I don't think that's the most effective way to look at it, but to each their own. Remember, there's going to be some subjectiveness based on how I look at this criteria. There's a lot of room for subjectiveness, and we do see that in the feedback, but it is definitely on a better track than some other competitions that I've heard of or that I've seen in the past, that, you know, that they try to have a decent rubric. And I'm talking more like convention circuits. They don't really have as good of a repertoire of how they choose to justify adjudication. So, but moving on from here, this setup's really nice, but just my general note, you notice it doesn't feel quite clear. I really wish, and it could just be circumstance of how they finished out that feature that just happened. I know he's in the front, that's totally fine. I personally just think that we need these these two groupings to be placed in somewhere else. Honestly, if they switched these two, it would be significant. It would be chef's kiss, honestly. That'd be my general note. Love this. It was really nice to see this turn around, especially because it's in unison. That's why. And then yes, we have now a transition change, and now this looks great. You know, now it's basically the opposite of what we saw before. We could have definitely obtained this if we did that switch earlier, like I referred. I love the popping section here with the switches. Really nice. We do see that, but in a different dynamic from round 1, I think, from them. But it's still really nice to see it here. I love how he's still very like lazy and tired. Really fun to engage in the performance. Great lighting choice. I love how he drops it first. Everybody keeps it up and then everybody else drops it. They come up, time, boom. Boom, it's time to go, see ya! And they're all working. I'm assuming they're just your basic, you know, working people. They're all like, bah! And they're like, goodbye, nice seeing ya. And I love that they're still moving and they're still dancing, but it's still a blackout. They go, brr! And they're tired. So this was a really, really fun concept, and they executed it well, and they used techniques that do make it practical to exude this type of concept effectively. So audience vote, I think CyberAgent took it. I also think judges may award CyberAgent with the win for this, but I really, really like SEGA Sammy Lux's performance nonetheless. I just think that most people are going to tailor towards the gregarious concept when both are equally done proficiently. They're going to factor or tailor it to the one that made them feel better versus the other one that made them think or made them uncomfortable or angsty. Does that kind of make sense? So, but here's, like I said, what we're going to do. I mean, yes, I did technically think who the judges picked, but I don't know what items the judges chose for each group. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. If SEGA Sammy takes it, it's cool. I'm curious about the feedback for it, but I will be surprised if audience chooses SEGA Sammy over CyberAgent for a lot of the reasons I said. So let's go ahead and let's take a watch at the judges' feedback.
緩いけど全然緩くない。
ドキドキさせてくれる空間。
暗転でポーズするんだ。
ロックでドラマのある。
Okay.
Round 3.
I'm making a
Second
separate
match.
little note.
SEGA Sammy Lux versus CyberAgent Legit.
Whoa!
Leto! 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 Leto!
Oh my gosh. SEGA Sammy got audience vote. Oh, and we don't get to hear either. Audience don't have like an opinion. That is surprising to me that SEGA Sammy got audience. You guys heard me. I had way more confidence in that. That is the first wrong audience vote I have done in the entirety of the competition so far. Oh man, I feel so bad now. I was so confident. But I mean, the judges giving CyberAgent the win. I think it's totally justified. God, that's so interesting. Wow, I cannot wait to hear the feedback for this, but man, now I feel like totally caught for a loop now. When I get judges right, I get audience wrong. If I get audience right, I get judges wrong. That's exactly how I'm feeling right now. Ah, man, maybe I need to look at this differently. Hold on, I gotta make a little notes real quick. Okay, so she awarded, so it's 4-1. So she gave skill to Cyber, she gave creation to Cyber, she gave choreography to Cyber, she gave style to SEGA Sammy, and then she gave synchronicity or the perfection to Cyber. So it was a 4-1. Okay, cool. So that's a bigger point difference. I can agree on the style part. I think SEGA Sammy brought really nice style representation.
大切なものは何ですかっていう自分たちに問いかけて、でそこに対してこうとても強く気迫のあるパフォーマンスだったなと思いました。でビジュアル的なこだわりですね。そこがすごくおしゃれで、それとこう楽曲のシャウトした叫びだったりとかエネルギッシュなパフォーマンスがとてもマッチしていてかっこよかったです。そのシャウトした感じともう一歩クレイジーさというか行き過ぎちゃってるっ っていう感じがもう一本見たかったなっていう、なんかそれを期待してしまった部分があって、もう迫力もあるし見応え見どころもたくさんあったんですけれども、そこが少しもう一個見たかったみたいなところがちょっと残って。
So she felt it was just lacking in general and skills and stuff. Okay, so I have to talk about this for myself because you know me, like I need to understand why I was wrong so I can be better next time. So here's why I had a lot of confidence behind this audience even though I was wrong. And the reason why is whenever you look at round 1, I was going off of how round 1 was judged to help me figure out if I can predict. And it was the match specifically between Benefit 1 Monolese and Lifeful Alt Rhythm. Because Benefit Monolese, they had this like daunting, hauntingly beautiful concept with the white with the red gloves, and then Lifeful had like this musical singing in the rain aesthetic, and then Lifeful won audience even though I thought Monolese should have taken it on pretty much every other category for multiple reasons. And so I was going off of that because CyberAgent had a more gregarious tone just like Lifeful did in round 1, and SEGA SAMMY had more angsty just like what we saw from Benefit 1 Monolese. So I also am factoring this into the fact that we're looking at different people in the audience. You're looking at fandoms or people who are fans of these groups. I do not actually know who are the popular groups, so I don't know those things as much, right? I do have a feeling that Katakawa is pretty popular. I'm trying to look. Yeah, Katakawa has won audience twice now, I think. And so in round 3, they're definitely going to be ones that could take audience just from their fandom. And I do know they've been very successful in seasons past. So possibly, I don't know. So maybe that's up to just the fandoms themselves. I don't know. Or maybe that crowd was really wanting some angsty and they got it with SEGA SAMMY. Anyway, I'm not downplaying. There's always a reason. I mean, both were great. So I really think it was a preference thing at the end of the day. But the judge is picking CyberAgent, at least for her. The skill side was what kind of work would be. Gosh, that was so funny. Right, so interesting. It does give me that, not ease on down the road, but it gives me that down the road track. That funk track. God, that's so funny. I bet that hurt too. They were like, yo. I agree with that. Great usage of the set. Oh, it could also be where they are in the audience too, because like you may not be able to see the set as clearly. Theirs also didn't feel as innovative in the skills as much as what we saw from SEGA SAMMY. I will say that. The skill sets are nice, they were tasteful in musicality, and they were fun and humorous, but a lot of things were definitely on the more simplistic interpretation to some degree, but it's still very, very well done. Should I cut my cats down here? She enjoyed it. I enjoyed both. Shinichi. Okay, Shinichi. Ooh, this was much closer. So he gave skill to Cyber Creation to SEGA SAMMY, gave choreo to SEGA SAMMY, style to CyberAgent Legit, and perfection to Cyber.
僕はレジットの方に入れました。先行の、ルックスなんですけど、リーダーのキャンドゥがいない回ってことで、どんな風に見せてくれるのかなと思ってたんですけども、ヘビーなホップロックというか。
So under their typical leader, a winner they may not have had.
衣装のイメージもすごいマッチしてて、ここはかっこいいというか。またいつものね、ルックスと違ったダンスで違う感じだけどすごくクオリティ高くてすごい良かったですけどね。 ギターソロのところから
Ooh.
どんどんこう構成で勝手に入っていくパートとか、ギターソロはあっていろんな形で表現してるのにすごい面白かったし、ルーティン曲に合っててとても良かったと思います。対するレジットなんですけど、最初のこう緩い入りというか、あそこの入りがすごい質感が良くて、緩いけど全然緩くないんですけど、
I
やって
agree.
ることはすごい面白い。でも
It's loose but not
いい
loose.
入りから
Yeah.
ポッピンでいういわゆる
It shows their fluency of switching. That's really hard to do.
なんかね、彼らはもうストリートダンスと舞台の使い方がもううまく上手にもう新しい感じになってきてるんだよね。でもそのね、ゆっくりなスタイル
I'm very intrigued on DYN Messengers versus CyberAgent because so far CyberAgent has
楽しい形にさせて
every match they've been in, I think, right?
なく
Yeah.
なってからこう細かい動きとかの
By like a lot, I think. 5-1 from 2 and 3. They've won 5-1 every single match they've done this season at this point in time. So impressive. Like they won
それもなん
one.
か楽しくて、ダンスとお芝居って言ったらおかしいけど、ミュージカル要素というか、喋らずに喋ってるというか、前物の要素もすごい上手だし、総合力が一個上な感じがあったな、レジットはっていうので、僕は今回レジットの方に入れました。言ったんですけど、でもルックスもすごい良かったです。結構惜しかったです。
サイバーエージェント
Here we go. Okay. So, once again, okay. So she has pretty much a very similar score. Huge point difference here. So it's Cyber, okay.
とレジットさんに入れさせていただきました。
They're pretty freaking clean. I will give them that. They were clean.
ロック調の曲も使いながら、それに合わせてのファッションに皆さんのこう赤髪がすごく似合ってるっていうのが私
I
の
love that
めちゃ
both.
くちゃ
I
大事
love
だ
that
と思っ
both
てて、
committed even down to the hair color.
メイクをしてそれがやっぱり浮いてしまったりもするんですけれども、
Yeah.
今回のテーマに全てがマッチしていて、で、あともう一つは手でパッドみたいに、皆さんがこう真ん中で見せ場で見せてる瞬間なんですけれども、あんなにスピーディーに繊細に音を取ってるかとは私正直あんま見たことがなかったので、どうなってるんだ、そこで
Ah,
そ
it's
の
true.
構成に音と手の動きがリンクしていて一瞬だったんですけれども、私はすごくそこがインパクトがあってとても大好きでした。サイバーエージェントレジットさんの作品なんですけれども、最初の上手で皆さんが座ってこうもだらけてる雰囲気から、まさかこんなにダンスの質が高い表現でその雰囲気を崩さずに演技とダンスをしっかりと安定感あるようにミックスさせてるのが私はすごいなと思いました。で、後ろに隠れてた方が飛んできた、あれ実は私ちょっと最初から後ろ頭見えてたんですけれども、でも見えてても何も感じてなかったんですよね。ただいるなから気づいたら飛んで出てきたのにすごくこう衝撃を受けて面白かったです。で、そこからまたさらにポップのスキルを見せつけられ、扉から出てくるその表現もすごくやっぱり皆さん演技力も高くで、なおかつそこからのブレイキンの
Yeah, that breaking solo was really
翔
nice.
成さんがボン
B-boy
と
翔
ブレイク
成
で飛んで出てきたところでまた
うわ
上がってしまって、もうそこから気持ちが落ちないですよね。なんかこう踊りのパフォーマンスが一個グッとスローになっててもドキドキさせてくれる空間が常に続いていて、なおかつ難しい技も入れつつ最後までダンスで見せ切りながらの演技もしっかりとこう怠けてるところと、怠けてないしっかりしてる部分のバランス感がもう最高に良かったです。なので私は サイバーエージェントレジットさんに1票入れさせていた
You
だき
see
ま
her
した。
necklace is so dainty and so small. Or maybe it's just a sticker. We'll see. Ooh, that is a full wipeout right there. That's very easy.
僕はサイバーエージェントレジットさんに票を入れました。まずセガサミールックスなんですけど、色気があってファッション衣装もすごい似合ってるし、とにかくまずかっこいいなっていうのが
I
初めの
appreciate
印象です。
how drastic
デ
his
ザイア
scoring is,
という
though.
テーマだったと思うんですけ
It's
ど、
all in can you
アコギの
justify it?
フレーズから始まりでボーカルが入りでこう踊りが進んでいく中で終盤ぐらいですかね、こう全員でちょっとこう体を反りながらこうなんか歩くというかで顔が打って向くみたいな、ちょっとそういうところもゾワッてしたりとか、もうそこからの斜めの構成をうまく使いながら男性の方が一人最後パッと出てきてちょっとこう繊細なウェーブとかを使いつつなんか見せたギターだけのパートになった時にステージ全体を使ったりとか音への反応っていうのも良くて、それがまずちょっとすごい好きな構成というかパートだったんですけど、後半の方でアコギのフレーズからどんどんこうエレキのギターの方に変わってなんかほんとこう叫びというかなんかそういう風に僕は感じたんですけど、エレキの音を結構そのエレキの音がこうボルテージ上がってんのに正直ダンサーの皆さんのこうボルテージはそこまではちょっとあんまついていけてないかなっていうのが感じたところではあります。なんでルーティーンとかもすごい揃ってるしタイトでめちゃめちゃいいんですけど、こっちにこう伝わってくるものがちょっと音の方が先に行っちゃってて、ダンサーの皆さんもそこにこうガッてくるものがあればなっていうのがあったのと、カットというかこう組み技をちょっとしたパートがあったと思うんですけど、正直言うとちょっと見えづらくて、これは衣装のせいなのかわかんないんですけど、
He said it was a bit difficult to see. I think it's because I think they varied it too much.
場面だと思うので、そこがすごいもったいないなっていうのが正直な印象。クリエイティブないいことやってるんだろうけど、こう手先までこうなんか綺麗に見えないなっていうのがちょっともったいなくてっていうのがまず正直ありました。でも全体的に言うとセガサミーのスタイルというかもう一本筋が通って伝わってきましたし、いいショーだったと思います。対するサイバーエージェントレジットさんなんですけど、いやここもすごいジャンルが違うメンバー、ロックが得意なメンバーがいたり、ブレイキンとかポップとかそれぞれベース
They do have really good versatility. I agree.
今日見た感じだとポッピンと、ロックダンスとかをこうベースにショーが進んでたと思うんですけど、
Yeah, they didn't really do a lot of locking in
丸
this
目立ちしない
one.
というかなんか一個にまとまっている、
Yeah.
それがやっぱ練習量なのか見せ方なのかちょっと分かんないんですけど、まずそこがすごいなっていう風に思いました。ソファーから起き上がってこう音のちょっとベースのところで、ポップっすよね、パペットみたいなスタイルを入れつつそこからこう枠からこう出てきて一気にこうオンに変わるっていう感じだったと思うんですけど、枠を越した時あと戻る時も含
So
め
the
て
second
表情まで
guy,
表現できてて、
I think he rushed a little too quickly, and that threw off the spacing of that
こう
formation.
後ろで2人でただなんかこう立ってるシーンというか前が踊りながらその時の2人の表情も踊ってはないんだけど表情までしっかりこう意識できてて、なんかめっちゃ何が行われてるかっていうのが今どういうシーンなのかっていうのもなんかめちゃめちゃ分かりやすく見えたし、 b ボーイ1人だけ小生がいたと思うんですけど、小生の使い方もうまい。例えば一番初めのこう心身というんですかね、こう座ってるみんなの中に飛び込んで転がってそこから背中から3点取り付いてみたいな、なんかブレーキングができるならではの動きもうまくストーリーの中に組み込んで
This judge is growing on me a little bit because he's pointing out a lot of things that I mentioned.
暗転でポーズするんだみたいな、なんかそこの斬新さも
He's doing much better justifying this match
結構クリエーショ
than
ン
the
とかは
first
僕満
one.
点つけてるんですけど、斬新さも踏まえ全体的なクリエーションの素晴らしさが際立ったショートだと思います。なので、このセカンドマッチに関しては、僕はサイバーエージェントレジットさんの方に、票を入れました。
And I know they have to review all of these at the same time.
サイバー
Okay. Oh yeah. So honestly, out of most, it's in every other. I mean, because you got this is the same exact. She just scored lower, but it's the ladies, man. Well, no, our first guy first person, the first, our third, and our fifth. So every other judge gave the style point
アージェントレジに入れさせてい
to
ただきました。
SEGA
サミ
Sammy.
ルクスさんなんですけど、このチームはもう勢いが得意のチームだなって思ってるんですけど、今回はすごいロックでこうドラマのある作品でビジュアルがとても良かったなっていうのが印象的です。このパワーで攻める作品の中に緩急の緩の部分が個人的にこうちょっとあらが目立ってしまったというか、間が気になってしまったっていうのが正直な感想でして、やっぱりこうパワーだけじゃなくてそういう、メローな部分だったりとかっていうのにももっともっとこうクオリティがアップするとより良くなるのかなって思いました。サイバーエージェントレジットさんはコミカルなこう作品の中にもやっぱり説得力のあるしっかりとしたスキルがあるっていうところがすごくポイントが高いなと思っていて、最初このオフの状態から始まったんですけど、なんかこうただのオフではなくてこうオンの中のオフという、印象がすごく私の中で強くて、オフなんだけどしっかり作り込まれてるってところがやっぱりポイントがすごく高い。
I love that they keep replaying this part because I love watching it every single time. It's just so,
ということで
it's just fun.
サイバーエージェントレジットを入れさせていただきました。
Nice. So, I mean, I honestly, biggest shocker is that audience picked SEGA Sammy over CyberAgent. Not that it wasn't good, but it was just because normally audiences, based on the trend of the rounds, they normally tend to tailor more to the well, now I gotta look, tend to tailor more towards the the more like happier ones, or just not the ones that are so angsty, you know, because that's what happened with Full Cast Risers, because I thought they would win and they didn't get audience, and or maybe no, I called audience on Mona Lisa and I was right there. I don't know. Well, at least we know that my percentage of being right to being wrong is still pretty okay so far. I mean, considering I'm not a judge for D.LEAGUE and my scope is from such a very different circuit, and just being an appreciator and still understanding what we're actually judging and how important do concepts matter and what are the logistics of the audience, you know. So, I mean, all in all though, I mean, this was a freaking great round. Like, this is a great match. It really was. And both of them were so good. But it totally makes sense why judges picked CyberAgent. I think I'm just still really surprised that audience didn't. So, but all that to say, it was still really, really fun to watch this match for sure. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more D.LEAGUE as I record it, I always post it on Patreon first. And also the discussions that happen with this league in particular, I'm very much a fan of it because I do know that this league isn't as well known as some of the other competitive environments that we do see on YouTube or just the internet in general. So I do know that even though my channel at this point in time is still pretty much on the smaller side, it's still very appreciative of support nonetheless. But I know in comparison to other reactors or analysts, I may be more on the smaller side, and I'm okay with that. It just having the little trinkets or just being able to expose others, you know, even if it's just one person, to this league, and what's made me be able to appreciate it so much more is being able to have people to talk about it with, especially people who got into it because I also got into it, you know. I think that's really fun and it feels very communal, and it makes me very much look forward to the next matches and look forward to the commentary that's to follow with it. Once again, I'm Jess. I'll be following D.LEAGUE all season long, and as well as other types of content that's dance related if that's something that's up your alley. I have many things offered on Patreon and on YouTube, and I hope you enjoy your time on either side, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye!